Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Last night we got some news of the Warriors' attempt to bounce back from the Klay Thompson injury, and they traded next year's first round pick, top 20 protected, in exchange for Kelly Oubre from the Oklahoma City Thunder. In this video, we'll also be talking about the Thunder's first round pick at number 17, which was AlexsejPokusevski. Before I get into this too much, though, I want to remind you to leave a like and subscribe. Been appreciating all the support lately, and I hope to see that continue. Without further ado, let's talk about the Thunder and the Warriors. But we'll start with the Thunder, since I also want to talk about the Pokusevski pick, and I talked about the Warriors in a video yesterday. It seems like the Thunder just keep on making trades. I think I went through in my head and tried to count how many trades they've made this year, and I think I came up with 7. The Schroeder trade, the Chris Paul trade, trading up to get trading Rubio and the 2 first-round picks to trade up to get Pokusevski, and then they made a trade up in the second round to draft that Vic Krejci, whoever that guy was, and then they have traded Kelly Oubre, they've traded Danny Green. Okay, so maybe it's only 6, but still. Whole lot of trades. Their roster is not in great condition at this point. They are definitely not going to be a playoff team next year, but they still have some really fun young players that I'm excited to see develop. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the crown jewel of this team's rebuild. They're hoping that he can blossom into an all-star and they can pair him up with whatever they're able to get with all of those future picks and form a really solid young core. Darius Bazley and Lou Dort are both versatile defensive players who, if they can develop a jump shot, have a chance to be really, really solid at the NBA level. Jalen Lecque, Ty Jerome, Hamidou Diallo, Isaiah Roby are just young guys who are hoping to take a step forward and become guys that are viable rotation pieces in the NBA. And I guess the veterans on this team at this point are now Steven Adams, Al Horford, and Mike Muscala. 3 centers. I would not be surprised to see Adams on the move. It's all a matter of finding the right suitor for him and seeing if you can get some more first-round picks, because that's all the Thunder do. They trade for first-round picks, and they trade for first-round picks often. I'm not sure what team really makes sense in a trade for Adams. The Celtics need a center, but I don't think that they have the pieces to get Steven Adams, as he's making a lot of money still, and with Gordon Hayward declining his contract, just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. What other teams really need a center? I guess the Nets could use an upgraded center, but I think they're happy with DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen. So yeah, I think that Steven Adams will probably be on this roster at least until the trade deadline. We can see if any team gains interest based on how he plays. Al Horford's probably going to be here too until he can regain some trade value. If that does happen, I could see them trading Al Horford for whoever the next bad contract is and adding some more assets in that way. And Mike Muscala, guy on a minimum. Yeah, not much else to say there. Maybe they can flip him for a future second-round pick, but he's not going to have too much value. So really, this roster is in an interesting spot. You've got 2 guys that I view as solid long-term rebuilding pieces. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and AlexsejPokusevski. Both of those guys have some all-star potential, and really, they should be focused on their development. Shai is obviously much further in his development than Poku, but he still has some room to grow. If he can improve on the defensive end of the floor, where I actually think he struggled in the Rockets series, if he can improve his jump shot and also become a better playmaker, yeah, he's got a lot of potential to be a really good NBA player. I think it's going to be interesting to see him get some more minutes at the point guard, as Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder are both traded now. And I think that this has a chance to be a really good season for him, and I would not at all be surprised to see him on an all-star team. The only thing that could hold him back from making that type of achievement would be if the Thunder suck, which is very possible. Pokusevski needs to put on some weight. Otherwise, he's going to get murdered on the defensive end of the floor right now. Other than that, on offense, he needs to continue to work on his shooting. Obviously, he can shoot it, but he has to become more efficient with it. I think he only shot the ball 40% on twos and 32% on threes, if I'm remembering correctly. So obviously, he has to become more efficient, but this guy was the ultimate lottery ticket. He's 7'1" and can shoot, dribble, and pass. So if he clicks and becomes what he potentially could, you might have just found like a Kevin Durant type guy. I'd say that is probably like a 1% chance of happening. And then there's probably like a 50% chance he's a bust, a 30% chance he ends up being a solid, okay role player, and like a 15% chance he's a all-star. So really what they're betting on, I don't even know if those added up, but they're betting on like that 15% chance that he's an all-star slash 5% chance he's a top 10 player at some point. And they're really in a position to do that more so than any other team in the NBA. They can afford to take risks with their current first round picks because of the absolute stock of first round picks they have in the future. I think they have like 17 firsts in 7 years, which is absolutely ridiculous. But he was the ultimate lottery ticket, and they are going to look to cash it in. For this season, this team doesn't have a great outlook. Obviously, Steven Adams is a good player. He's a top 10 center, and it just comes down to how valuable that's actually going to be on a team where there's going to be guys like Ty Jerome and Hamidou Diallo getting rotation minutes. But I think that with him alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is obviously the best player on this team now, there's a chance that this team is still at least competitive, but I do think that they're probably going to finish in the bottom three of the Western Conference. And in a 72-game season, well, if it were an 82-game season, I'd say they're probably something like a 25 to 30 win team. So in this weird 20-game season, or 72-game season, they're probably like a 20 to 25 win team. I wouldn't expect to return to the playoffs, but I do think that they can be competitive and at least not get blown out every single game. They're not going to tank. They're going to continue to try to play well. They want to see their young players get some experience and improve, but I just don't think that there's enough talent on this roster after it was completely taken down and brought down to its roots in order for them to replicate their success of last year. And then in this Kelly Oubre trade, I think that they did all right. I would have rather had that pick only be lottery protected, but chances are the Warriors are still going to be a top 10 team in the NBA, so that pick is going to convey between 21 and 30, and you will have stockpiled yet another asset in exchange for an expiring contract in Kelly Oubre. Over to the Warriors side of things, they definitely improved. And when you have Steph Curry in his prime, when you have Draymond Green in his prime, you have to do what you can to compete. And this roster is certainly solid. You still have a top 5 player in Steph Curry. You still have a top 40 player in Draymond. Andrew Wiggins is another lottery ticket. I don't want to compare him to Pokusevski, but if he can figure it out, then there's a chance that he can maybe get somewhere close to that potential people saw for him going into the draft in 2014. I don't think that he'll ever be an all-star at this point, but if he can improve defensively and improve his shot selection, all the mental stuff that he's struggled with, then you might be able to scrounge a really good starter and maybe an above-average starter out of Andrew Wiggins. And I think that would be a huge victory for this Warriors team. They just got to really hammer it into his head. All right, Andrew, you're a role player now. Do what you can. Get us some buckets off on offense, but don't be selfish. Don't take bad shots. And on defense, give all your effort all the time. And we're going to be okay. We're going to have a solid team. Kelly Oubre was a nice addition for them. Gives them another option as a 3-and-D wing. Also has some athleticism that he can use in the fast break. He's not great at playmaking, which is obviously what you want if you're the Warriors, because when you have playmaking wings that allow Steph Curry to play off the ball more, and that's where he's at his best. But they still have Draymond, So I think Draymond will probably shoulder more of a playmaking role now that Kevin Durant's gone and Andre Iguodala is gone. So I think that he'll probably have the ball in his hands even more than he did before. Steph Curry is going to have to carry this team. Oubre, Wiggins, Green, Pascal, Looney, Wiseman, even Marquise Chris and Jordan Poole can be thrown in as guys that are respectable rotation players. But Steph Curry is the only top 30 player on this roster now that Klay Thompson has gone down. So he's going to have a huge season. He's my early pick for MVP. I think that he's going to step up to the challenge and, he's going to go out there and be aggressive, look to manufacture shots for himself. It's going to be tough because defenses are really going to key in on him, but I do think Kelly Oubre helps out with alleviating that pressure, as does adding Andrew Wiggins, as they're two guys that can kind of space the floor and be at least a bigger weapon on the offensive end than Juan Toscano Anderson and Michael Mulder. So that definitely will alleviate some of the pressure on Steph Curry, but how far this team can go is really on Steph Curry's back, and we're going to find out just how special of a player Steph Curry really is. We've seen him be great when he has superstar teammates alongside him, and we know that he's a top 15 player of all time, but this is a chance for Steph Curry to cement his legacy as one of the greatest to ever do it. If he can get this team to the Western Conference Finals as currently constructed, this will be a huge accomplishment for Steph Curry, and I'm super excited to see him play again because Steph Curry is he's the most entertaining player I've ever seen play, and it's going to be great to have him back. The whole NBA will be super happy to have it. Well, I shouldn't say that. All NBA fans will be happy to have him back. I don't think the teams will be happy because the dude's a lethal weapon, but every fan is happy to have him back, and we're all excited to watch this Warriors team go again. I think that's about all I have to say. Also, James Wiseman is going to be very fun on this team. A starting lineup of Curry, Oubre, Wiggins, Green, and Wiseman has a lot of defensive potential now. You have Green, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year, Wiseman, who is a potential future Defensive Player of the Year, Oubre and Wiggins, who are versatile wings, and Steph Curry, who fights his butt off on the defensive end. He's not good, but he works hard enough that he's able to push himself to the point where he's at least an average defensive player. So yeah, this team is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see them play. There's going to be a lot of great movement. We know Steve Kerr is one of the better offensive coaches in the NBA. And I'm really, really excited to see Steph Curry back in action. I think that might be my biggest takeaway. Yesterday we were sad about Klay. Today we're excited for Steph. So I think that's about it. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment on how good you think the Warriors will be this upcoming season. I still think that they are a top 5 or 6 team in the West just because of Steph Curry's greatness. But I don't think that they're a championship contender anymore, which is really unfortunate. But injuries happen. Yeah, it's sad. Prayers up for Klay. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.